It's going to be Virtus Pro up against Team Liquid next. Team Liquid with their storied history of multiple second places, looking for a big win here and going up against the Virtus Pro that we still have to really discover how well they can do. And that's one thing that is going to be interesting, right? Getting to see VP play a very top tier team, probably the best team here at the event, straight off the back in a best of one. How much can they deliver at this point? And I think my big question point really is around Liquid. Do they let something like this slip up? Could we see a game that ends up being close?
James, I don't want to derail this line of conversation, but I have some important stuff to talk about first and foremost.
Oh, God.
Mitch, can you grab that beverage right there?
Absolutely.
Would you say you're feeling sprightly?
Hey.
And more importantly, the question is, how many times you sit on a couch and you wear shoes?
Not many times.
No, this is unusual. But then we can also talk about like ways to sit. So this is my common go-to because I don't know why. Because I like having the notepad. It's a good little table
I'm
here.
doing exactly
nice
that.
table.
In Australia, just so no one gets mad at me, this is because for those of you who know, I did a segment in Pro League a while ago, and I didn't wear any trousers.
You got in trouble for that.
Yeah, but it was because it was Friday, and we do a thing called No Pants Friday in Australia on the radio station. But these guys, Hamish and Andy, they also call this, oh my God, lady legging.
Right.
So we got multiple ways
Doesn't
to
that
sit.
just crush your balls?
Yeah, it does. So we talk about
Stop
this.
that.
Yeah. So this one here is a rough one. You could do like the up on the couch, like you know,
Very hipster.
Yeah, this is quite a hipster way to sit, I guess. Or it could
Let's see
like
it.
I don't know, maybe this is like a very protective, like I'm a bit nervous kind
Help
of sitting.
me.
Yeah,
That was Mitch at the beginning.
yeah. Oh,
Wow. It's been, what, like 3 hours and we're going there
I
already?
didn't
Come
queue
on.
up for that one.
We're
I'm
being
sorry.
nice.
Yeah,
We're being
thanks.
nice.
We can get back on track now. I'm
Plan
done.
this
I'm
behind
done
the
with
scenes.
my silly buggers.
All right.
Oh, could I not? I was thinking I could.
You got
go
any
on
other
to,
ways
like,
to sit?
Yeah, just like
Wait,
lay
I would
over.
put my feet on the table, but I feel like that's not okay.
You
That's
don't
No,
want
it's
to
not
show,
okay.
show your feet to people, even like all the soles of them.
I have very hairy feet.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm
You are a
glad
hairy
I've learned
man.
that.
I'm glad we've learned something, but let's learn something about this potential
Yes.
game that could be. See, for me, this is a game that really is two ways, and not just because it's a best of one, but because it's this VP that still has a really now good mix of young and old. I like what we see from this VP.
The worrying sign here is, for me, when you look at the stats of this five when they've been a roster, is it's Mihu and Snatchy who are the best two players, right?
By far,
Statistically.
Snatches look real good.
Yeah, and Snatchy came from AGO, if people aren't aware, right?
Yeah.
He was the AWPer of that team, and he's come across, he made a good impression. I believe it was at the event in Spain, DreamHack Valencia. That's the one I was there. And from, like, he made a pretty good performance there. But in AGO, there were other players who were good. They just weren't that role. The thing that is curious for me is he's now come across to this VP roster and taken Pasha's roles.
Yeah.
Now, Pasha is the lowest rated player on this roster. Is that a worrying sign for anyone else? Because like he was the best player on this team, like for a consistent period of time. When you know maybe Snacks would have a good game every now and again, and Bialy would have a good game every now and again, and then it was always like Neo and Taz down the bottom doing the more supportive things. But Pasha for me was always having like a consistent impact for a while. Now that this change has happened, it feels like he's definitely dipped a lot, and that just sucks because Pasha's a legend.
You see him come through and thrive on some maps, like particularly Cash. I think he stands out. He plays a good support role towards the B-bomb site, but he is that mid player. He takes up the AWP when needed. And I do like seeing them on Cash because I feel like he still fits into a similar role. But when we move over to those other maps, the likes of Inferno and stuff, they kind of fall off. It's more standard Inferno, Mirage, all that. I feel like, though, I remember seeing an interview with him from I Am Shanghai, I'm going to say, where he was talking about how bringing in the younger guys now has really changed his perspective on Counter-Strike, the way that he looks to play. Like he said, you know, he's obviously been playing 15 years and he didn't really think that he could change how he plays the game, but he's slowly starting to adapt. And maybe that's something that needs to come through for him to stay in the scene, but so far it hasn't really shown too much impact.
Well, to build on those points, this is a common theme that I've been making, at least in recent times, where you do see these new generation of players coming through. And I'm not saying Mihu's that. I'm not saying that Snatchy is that. I think like the Excel kid that we saw today, Brolan, Sergey, those guys here, I look at them and I call them pure CSGO players because they don't have any predispositions to previous games of Counter-Strike where maybe, you know, look, let's be honest, Pasha would admit this himself, and I don't think he would consider what I'm saying too harsh by any means, but he has terrible movement in the game, right? So if you want to look and you want to evolve and you want to try and play like the youngsters, you need to look at those little details. Players who are still able to keep up, who are part of that old guard, that old generation of people who prioritize those parts of the game. Think about Forest, for example. The guy loves playing surf maps, right?
Yes.
And movement in a game like CSGO now, especially with jiggle peeking, which is, in my opinion, is the modern day equivalent of Russian walking.
Oh,
right?
yes,
Which
good
is
old
the
crouch jump.
exactly, right? So if people who aren't familiar with that, in 1.6, there was when you would run, you would tap crouch, and your player model would do like a weird like ducking movement, and it was harder on the hitboxes. Eventually, they actually fixed that, but it was just a cool little movement, a cool way of moving around the map, because actually it masked your footsteps as well a little bit. But jiggle peeking for me is that modern day equivalent. And the point that I'm trying to get to here in a roundabout way before I deviate too far is that for players like Pasha and Neo, they get an opportunity now to learn from a newer generation of players on how to approach the game in its modern way while giving information and giving experience of staying cool under pressure and playing on big stages. So it's a nice little trade-off.
And very true as well, right? We've got this thing where before it was them teaching the young guys coming up, right? When they took on a Snacks, when they took on a Bialy. Now kind of the tables have turned. But we will get to hear in an interview now from Snackchy. So it'll be interesting to find out what he's got to say this time around about this VP.
Since Epicenter, we tried to fix our main problem, which was like struggling when we had lead. For example, we had like 14-6 versus Astralis in ECS, I think, and they went like 16-14 versus us. Like 2 weeks ago, we played versus Kinguin. It was like the same situation. It was 14-7, I think, for us. Then it was like overtime, and we ended finally. So I think we improved that, and yeah, it's a lot better since the Epicenter. I think that we are playing in this lineup for 2 months, and we need some time to be better than. I think that 2 months is not enough to be a good team. We need like more time, but I think that we are improving still. I think that Malta is like beautiful place. There's a lot of places to have like entertainment. The weather is nice, and I really like this place. I think that both NI teams are pretty good. Liquid is top 3 team in the world, so they are I think the strongest opponent in this tournament. They are the strongest team in this tournament. Energy is also playing very good. About Kinguin, I don't know, they are struggling a bit in this month, so it's hard to say, but I think that every opponent in this group is hard. I think that in this tournament we can go far if we will play our A game.
I'll be honest, I really like that. It was a different viewpoint, right? An honest viewpoint on it as well. Saying about he thinks they need a little bit more time than just a couple of months they have had this roster, which, okay, is kind of what everyone says when these changes come into play, and it's more how much time do we really give them for it. Is 3 months enough? Is 6 months enough? It depends on kind of how much they're playing, what the kind of roster positions are. But overall, he seems a pretty positive chap when it comes to this overall.
Well, I think, getting an opportunity to play for, I was going to say play for a legendary organization, but I think what's probably a better thing to say would be to play with legendary players or under the visors, especially the man right here on your screen like Cuban. If you grew up playing any iteration of Counter-Strike in Poland, these guys were idols, like legitimately. Like Counter-Strike in a region like Poland is insane. I'm in taxis when we go to any part, like when we did Krakow last year, when you're in the airport going from Warsaw to somewhere, when they're in Katowice, and these people, they might not know like what Counter-Strike is, but you mentioned VP or Pasha, and they're like, oh, Pasha biceps, like they all know them, right? And this for these kind of kids is such a huge thing.
And he's in all the media marts and all the advertising.
He's doing some tire advert.
Yeah, he's like he's not just a household name. He is a Polish name, and every single home will have an idea of him. But moving on to Liquid, right? We know already, okay, multiple second places, etc., etc. But for me, like I said when we started off the show here today, if they can't win this event, if things don't go their way, where do we go from here? Is it the change that comes in?
Ooh, I already feel like cracks in mentality must be there, right? Like to get to, especially the Mouse Sports one, like to get to that point against in your home crowd and not be able to convert against Mouse Sports. At one point we were like, oh, it's just Astralis. They just can't get past Astralis because they had so many finals. But to not get past Mouse Sports at an event where Australis wasn't even there.
And with snacks.
Yes, that's where for me the cracks definitely started to show, and it has to, because you can only lose so often before you need to look for a change. And then the question mark is, well, where do you start pointing fingers? Because within these teams, within these camps, there are always going to be groups of people who get along better than others. I'm going to say Zeus and JDM, when JDM was in the team, they were like very good friends if you followed their social media, but they were still happy to get rid of JDM, which tells me that Zeus is willing to do whatever change needs to happen with the consensus of the team to make this squad better.
Yeah.
To talk about the remnants of the squad with choking and stuff, you only go back as far as that is when Nitro and Elige, that's the two players who were still part of that in previous iterations, but now it's a fresh new lineup. So I don't want to put the choking tagline on Liquid. I just think they're the second best team in the world during Astralis' era.
Now, Mitch, I'll bring you back into this, but what we are going to do is hear from Nitro and see what he's got to say ahead of their game, and then we'll get back into it.
ECS was obviously an upset for us. We weren't happy with how we went out in the group stage because we haven't done it in a while. But looking back, I think we didn't prepare as we usually do, and I'm not sure why, but we're gonna talk about it, and we obviously fix our mistakes and stuff for this tournament, and we're going into this tournament really confident. So it's gonna be a different tournament. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of second place this year, but obviously this tournament is not like a tier 1 tournament, so to speak, because there's not as strong of teams as like Astralis and Navi and stuff like that. But honestly, it feels like we have more pressure because people are expecting us to destroy this tournament. But you know, we came in second in Chicago, which was kind of unexpected because the team was like a little weird at the time. We weren't as confident as we were back like during August, September, and stuff like that. But for this tournament, obviously there's some strong teams here. There's a lot of teams that like the anti-strat, so we're gonna try to focus more on preparing for each individual match and just take it day by day and hopefully win the tournament. Yeah, so Malta is like a very beautiful place, obviously, and for these tournaments, we don't treat them any differently. Obviously, it's like a very nice island, and it's just like Mykonos when we went there before. It's a little different vibe because it's not an arena and stuff like that, but obviously, like, we have to treat it the same way, and we're gonna be professional about it and do the same stuff that we always do for each tournament. So to answer the question, I think we're gonna treat it the same, like I said, and hopefully win. Yeah, winning this tournament would be a very good result for us. We only won one this year, have a lot of second places, obviously, but yeah, it would be very nice to win and just get another trophy next to our Summit trophy. It's kind of a meme at this point, but you know, we take it to heart every tournament. Second place really sucks. It's obviously better than not going or going out in the group stage is better than that. So yeah, we're here to win for sure.
Elige talking about obviously their year so far, where they expect to be, but I think the most interesting point is just the pressure, right? Because it does start to mount, especially when you come to an event here where you're not just the clear favourites, but there is no Astralis, there is no Navi, there's no FaZe. These teams that would normally maybe give them a harder time are not in their way this time.
Well, it depends, you know, normally maybe not, but the last time NRG and Liquid met, it was a pretty hard time for Liquid. They went out 2-0 at ECS. That was, you know, you heard Elige there saying that they had a bad time. It was a bit of a disappointment. Well, that was because of NRG. That said, though, we've seen NRG get off to a bit of a shaky start today. Maybe if Liquid can come in here with confidence, they might set themselves up for a better path forward, but ultimately, I think that's what it's going to come down to. Recently, we've seen Elige step it back up a bit. You know, he used to be the strongest player on that Liquid lineup, dropped off a little bit towards the last couple of months, but now he's recently online at least been really stepping it up for that team, and indeed offline as well. But I think the best of one, look, they're always going to be up and down, but up against VP, it's not really a situation that I see Liquid falling too easily in.
Sure. Yeah, look, I think let's be honest about this one right here. If Liquid played to their potential in this matchup and in the tournament, I'm sure we've all seen that video that's been going around online. That's the one with the guy in the kid's little playground thing with all the toys, like throwing them at him, all the kids. That's kind of what this event should be like for Liquid. They should just be running around, knocking all these little kids down, because realistically, or at least in my mind, these guys are a top 3 team in the world. When they hit the top of their potential, they're number 2 on a consistent basis. I think Navi are obviously one of the teams that can take it to them. Here, we're probably going to end up on, look, if you're Liquid, you're definitely happy with a Mirage. It could also be a Cache. I think those are the two is probably what we'll be looking at most likely here. The permaban of each team is gone in the second phase. So the trainers have time event for that of Liquid and Overpass for VP. So it's either between Keish and Mirage, and the choice goes to VP here. So I guess we'll get to see what they're feeling a little bit more.
I think they'll pick a Cash.
It's Mirage. I can see it
Is
on
it
Morel's
Mirage?
screen.
Wow. VP have had a very bad history in Mirage at LANs. They've got, I think, 1 in 5 of their over the last 3 months. It's not been a very kind map to them. And up against Liquid, who I definitely think are going to be comfortable on Mirage. Although, then again, they'd be comfortable on Cash as well. But I feel like Cash has more upset potential.
Sure, I think this is one of those situations though where there is a massive sample size to look at for Liquid and the way they approach the game, and you think about how much time have they had to practice and change things up. Maybe VP go, look, let's exploit these tendencies. It's a map that we're okay on, but we know that it's a map that like they're comfortable on. We're 100% going to get it in a best of 1, and this way we can go with whatever, I guess, counter strats or version of the game they want to approach it with. But all in all, VP have a negative win-loss ratio at the moment for all games that they've played with this iteration of the team. So it's hard to see these guys, especially with the old dogs who are the ones that are not anchoring the squad, but down the... If Pasha can step up and have a good game, and Snatchy and Mihu can continue what they're doing, this one can be competitive. But I think Liquid, even with the pressure, which they even have noted themselves, should just come out here and just absolutely smash VP out of the water.
Yeah, I'm expecting just a big firefight from start to finish for them, because I think at least for, okay, you've got that game against the Stars, but that was one where they were like for 14-6 ahead and they threw it away. Okay, Fnatic win, not too bad. They took down Kingwin on it as well, but ultimately everything still favors into this Liquid side. But what would you guys think is kind of like the must-win condition here for Virtus Pro? Is it just Pasha being back in form and the other guys doing their job?
I wouldn't put it back on one guy. I think like if he plays well, it can be more competitive. But they have to have a game plan where they can really exploit any weaknesses they can see in this Liquid game. It's not as pound for pound, Liquid have them covered. Pound for pound, Liquid have the majority of the teams in the whole world covered. Naf, Twists, and old boy Elige, in terms of a rifling trio, is absolutely immense firepower. And we've seen Nitro have some really good games. Taco as well, contributing a lot more than back in the day when he was playing for SK during that era. So I think we have to note those things. But you touched on, James, the idea that crack's starting to show, or if they don't win this tournament, I think knowing that there's that level of pressure, if they don't win, if they come top 2 again as normal, then I think they'll just continue trucking on, right? They've still got EPL. They're going to have those results back to back to see how that all unfolds. But it's just curious. I made a tweet the other day, especially for teams like NRG and Liquid. Do they opt to make roster changes going forward if they're not hitting the heights that they feel that they should be? Like if you go out here in the group stage, if you don't make it to the final, because most likely these teams will be on opposite sides of the bracket, do they consider that a failure? What are they setting for themselves? And moving into the next major cycle, how do they want to approach that, right? Those are the question marks which will probably decide whether or not they make a roster change in the near future. But focusing on this one right here, what are some of the key points? I guess the fact that there isn't a primary AWP. Well, Nitro is the primary AWPer, but he uses it more as a utility. So notice the way that the CT holds come in for a team like Liquid. They play a little bit more passive with their rifles in the mid to late rounds around the mid area. Obviously, they go aggressive with that mid control. Taiko anchoring that B bomb site always does a fantastic job. He's got Naf over to Catwalk in tow, Liege towards Connector, and Old Boy Twist is the A anchor, who we know he has some rough up and downs with his health. So hopefully that doesn't come in here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Just want everyone to be performing for Team Liquid, want them to have a nice kind of route here, at least to do what they're supposed to do this time around. But it is that prediction time, and I'm going to start things off with, I will confidently pick into Liquid on this one. I think even if VP have a really good game, Liquid have got enough experience, and just they've got that kind of experience now under their belt where this can work regardless of what's thrown up. I think we still need to see more from VP.
Yeah, Liquid for me too.
Yeah, I don't think it's much surprise
There
we're
you
all
go.
sticking with Liquid. I mean, if you look at how things are shaping up for them up against VP, VP favored to come at the bottom, in the bottom 4 is pretty much...
Well, they're only 8 teams, right? And quite a stark comparison. So,
Exactly. Like a lot of these teams are separated by a pretty big gap. We're talking about Liquid, a team that can take down Astralis, like one of the only teams in the world right now that can actually regularly contest Astralis anyways for those top spots and at least give them a really good fight for it. I don't think that VP are going to be able to come in at this stage anyways, maybe give them a couple of months. You know, 2 months isn't enough, 3 months. But, you know, I think as time goes on, these guys can build it up a little bit. But I'd like to touch on something you said actually yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier on, Chad, towards the start of the tournament. You said that with Liquid, so I've heard a lot of people saying, you know, oh, if they don't win this, they've got to disband, they've got to fall apart and find something that works. And it was something you said that, you know, look, they're always fighting for this second spot. And do you really think that a roster change is going to allow them to beat Astralis? You know, it's
from my opinion, no.
Yeah,
like I think they have a really good roster right now with everybody playing their roles very well. I think the question mark is, when does the organization want to change? Are the players unhappy with something?
Sure.
Those are the issues that really crop up.
And that's something we can't really
off
know.
here because we got to get into the game. It is time for us to deliver and get ready for it. It's going to be Liquid versus VP. It's time for you guys to take it away one last time. Dean and Scriv, over to you.
Yes, it is, of course, going to be our final game of the day. There's a few best of threes to come up before anything gets under wraps completely. But, of course, it's been a pretty exciting day so far. I think some very, very kind of questionable finishes from a lot of these teams. NRG, the I suppose, primary opponent coming into this for Liquid, struggled a fair amount up against a Polish side, Kingwin. So maybe we'll see a little bit of that here. But I think Liquid and VP are much more spread apart in terms of, you know, the skills and things like that so far. But it should certainly be an interesting one. Way back when, you know, Mirage is always a classic that VP were known for back in the day. But obviously, most of those players kind of out the door at this point in time. So it should be interesting to see if this newer lineup is also as strong on Mirage.
Definitely worth noting with the fact, of course, that they do now for pretty much the first time ever have a proper dedicated upper in the form of Snatchy. With Mirage being a map where that up can be, of course, very useful for holding down that mid control. It can be used in many different positions. You can get aggressive towards A, you can hold it over towards B, a little bit more passive in the apartments. I think really coming into this one, I'm going to be looking mostly towards Snatchy to actually be that factor for VP if they want to make this a competitive game. But it looks like we're actually going to be off to a pretty quick start. VP on the T side, bit of utility going to be brought in, and a quick rush over towards that B bomb site. Morel's already able to open things up on the Taco. Naf playing in towards the forest position is actually able to find themselves one kill. But with the trade coming back in, VP, they do manage to keep themselves a man advantage, and the bomb will indeed be planted.
Liege on a really quick flank though here. There's not a great deal that the T's can do about it other than try and fight him. He actually takes a few shots at his own teammate there. So the communication after this very quick hit seems to be a little bit all over the place. Although they are trying to recover things back, it's not really going to work out. VP actually kind of wrecking that one a little bit. Liquid, a little bit slow off the mark just in the pistol. Obviously, we can't quite say yet in the game itself. But Taco caught completely off guard by just a super quick run in towards that B site. Maybe based off of some spawns, they called it. VP, though, get a very clean little pistol onto the board.
Yeah, Pasha didn't even have to use his utility that he purchased up. They were able to just run straight in. They found so much success that they just had to hold it down. A nice little after plant as well. As you said, Liege on that quick flank really could have been the round changer there for Liquid, but sadly wasn't able to really find anything from it. And with that now, it is going to be VP with a 1-0 lead. And surprisingly, Liquid not going to go ahead and actually eco into this one. They decide to go for the force buy. They bring out mostly just pistols. One UMP into the hands of Naf. And it's going to be Twists who picks up the scout. So let's see if there's really going to be too much allowed to be brought into this round for Liquid. As we said, of course, massive favorites in this game. A lot of the time when you are the favorites, you just go ahead and pull out these force buys when you can.
Yeah, sometimes can be a little bit dangerous though. Got to respect your opponent consistently because things can very quickly get out of hand.
And of course, 2/5 of the plow still in place here for VP.
Very true. Very true.
You never know when that can wake up. It's been a while.
Yeah,
it can be rusty now.
Yeah, I think so. A bit of, you know, WD-40 is what we use in the UK, but it's kind of like the old squeaky oil.
Already Mihu been able to open things up as well. Taking down a Liege. A big name to claim early on. That smoke towards jungle is going to allow VP to easily move forward onto this A-bomb site. And again, with the bomb being planted, probably not a lot that Liquid can do. If they can find a few kills and make it costly, at least that would be nice. But that is not looking very likely. Twists pinned in towards the CT spawn. Snatchy somehow hasn't finished him off. And eventually gets his head completely torn off by that scout. But it does seem like overall it will still be there around. Naf with the UMP may just consider trying to actually save this one. If he can carry this over, gives them something to work with in the next round, he'll be able to try and pick up some kills and get some extra money rolling. But either way, VP with a quick 2-0 start. I was going to say, it looks like they might try and hunt this one down, and I definitely don't think this is worth it because they themselves want to try and build up some money.
Yeah, late flash kind of comes in on the push. Naf reading into it quite well, and yeah, that UMP pays for itself. So nice little return, in all fairness for them. And it looked clean from VP until the final few moments, so a little bit more costly. It's kind of a decision now as to what Liquid go for. They are just going to eco around this UMP for the most part. A few, upgraded pistols here and there, which can make quite a big difference. Certainly a lot better than just having your USP make room for NAF. But obviously, having already lost someone, VP, looking kind of good. The fundamentals are there. It now is a question of going into this first gun round, how are they going to fare up against Liquid? Who will obviously have a great deal of depth to the first rifle round to quickly get it on the board and quickly shut down their opponents on this CT side.
Ideally, Naf wants to try and pick up a couple of kills here, because if he can do so, then he'd be able to drop that up over to Nitro coming into the first gun round. But as we can see, VP for now grouping up outside of B. It is pretty much a completely open bomb site. Taco is going to begin to rotate into position now. Has a dig, so maybe he can find a couple of kills and try and at least make it a bit more costly, drop a couple of these weapons. But Morales, he's going to be leading the way. Knowing they're up against a majority of players who don't have the Kevlar, they can send this Mach 10 out first to try and just hunt things down, try and scout out the bomb site. And they are going to be finding it pretty much open now at this point. Neo able to find one as well. They have a Liege pinned in towards the kitchen. And that is the round once again going to be over pretty much in favor of VP. It's just a question again whether they can actually manage to try and save these weapons. Try and actually, or rather, yeah, over on the VP side, can they actually keep those weapons in play? I guess Naf could go ahead and save because he has that Kevlar. That would probably be worthwhile. Ideally, though, he probably will upgrade off of that UMP in the next round.
Relatively conventional start, as you would expect. With that force buy in the second round, it is something that we're so very used to. And again, it's kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, the recent... I guess you can't even call them recent now, but the newer economic changes are very flexible in what you can do. Some maps, such as Inferno especially, it's a shame that we've not seen it here. Obviously, I think we'll be seeing it in the best of threes when they start getting into full flow, but things like a few smokes, a few flashbangs can really just slow teams down and make things easier for the pistols and whatnot. As we kind of saw towards the end of that second round, it cost VP a fair amount. If they were on the CT side, it might have been a very different kind of story now. But thankfully, that T-side economy a little bit more forgiving. 2 Orgs coming out into play, certainly interesting. No AWP for Snatchy to deal with as yet from the Liquid side. So in theory, he's going to have the run of the mill. VP looking pretty confident here. Taco spots that there's no one in front of the smoke that his team has thrown. Might just look to get a little bit aggressive. Liquid, though, just trying to bait out a bit of utility and some false information with a fast rush, so it would seem, quote-unquote, in towards B. Keeping Liquid guessing.
Yeah, looking like VP are just going to try and get that mid control. They've taken their time, at least. They didn't push forward immediately. It's only now, really, that they begin to actually show that presence. And Liquid not really actually trying to hold this one down. They're happy enough, it seems, with just giving that up. They have one player in towards ladder. Nitro, of course, on short as well. But Mihu already been able to actually close in the distance. Gets himself in the ladder, but Naf having just actually pushed forward is looking to maybe try and come back in now. The timing for Mihu is absolutely terrible. Taken down from behind, and a free AK upgrade going to be found for Naf. But as we can see, it's equal trades up to this point. Snatchy able to go ahead and shut down Nitro on short. It's a 3-on-3 with 40 seconds now remaining for VP.
Oh.
And they actually are going to be just straight up committing to that A bomb site. I was a little bit confused because they were beginning to fall back off, but especially as Snatchy's able to go ahead and take that kill, they decide they are just going to commit on it. But it's a bit of an issue with the 2 players into the CT spawn. Neo gets dropped. Morels doesn't actually decide to stick the bomb plant. He goes in for the peek and ends up getting taken down. And suddenly it's all on Snatchy to try and save the day. And even with the 3 kills, it's just not going to be enough.
A little bit of a shame there. I think they were kind of, the idea was, we'll get the bomb down and you can cover us from the CT cross, but they didn't need to cross. The positions that they took were relatively passive at CT, but able to see a fair amount of angles. The one smoke could have really made a difference for VP. Certainly close, though. And Snatchy, like you said, going to be a little bit of a linchpin for this Polish side. Again, a lot of AGO casted back in the day before he moved, and he is certainly a flashy player. Definitely can carry the weight of the world on his shoulders in certain situations.
Ooh, a little bit of a gap here for Elige to work with. Actually doesn't find the kill. I feel like Snatchy's just snatching away kills he really shouldn't find. That's the only really way I can put it, because that's a kill there for Elige that's pretty much free.
Yeah, if you'll pardon the pun, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't know what other way to phrase it.
Yeah, it's fair enough, isn't it? It's a relatively good verb to use, honestly. But 5-on-4 nonetheless is the key thing. A little bit of damage done onto Pasha, fair amount of damage done onto Snatchy. So the one spray down could make the difference. And this is kind of one of those situations for Liquid coming into this round where, like, their buy is arguably worse than the T side because of the fact that they survive with so few players. So it's kind of difficult going into the latter stages. Taco, though, with a nasty little angle, spots out 2 players, and the double spray easily lands for him. A lot of utility coming in towards this B site now. He and Naf to hold it down. Meanwhile, the lurk gets taken in towards middle. Bomb dropped by Naf, and it's all fallen apart for VP, as Pasha is the only one remaining. No one has really found anything here on the Polish side either. Just that one early kill from Snatchy. Pasha just looking to back away and save.
Understandable that he's just going to save this. As you can see, they don't really have much economy at all. They're kind of going back to early on as well, where they were trying to hunt down those rifles. It's definitely costed them now, because they likely are just going to have to take an eco into this upcoming round. Neo on 0, Snatchy on 250 before it ends, Morel's on 150, and yeah, they're just not really going to be able to buy up much in this next round at all. It's averaging around $2,000 or so, so I wouldn't imagine really any pistols to be upgraded either. It's really just going to be up to Pasha now with this up to try and get some work done, or Snatchy if he drops it over. That is the question, but yeah, there we go. Snatchy, that's a kill he never should have been able to find, but luckily enough, Liquid, they did manage to recover from it in the end.
Nasty stuff. I love as well, it's just exactly what they were kind of talking about on the analyst desk. He's got like a Neo sticker on his AWP. It's just a nice little touch, I think.
He respects the legends. Ooh, Pasha just instantly being shut down. I was going to say, maybe he could have found that one. Even when flashed up, a lot of the time you can just get that shot off with the timing, but he wasn't given the chance to do so, sadly. It's Snatchy now who has that op in his hands, the primary opper, of course, but with a 5-on-4, a disadvantage in terms of the firepower as well, I'd imagine that Liquid should be closing this round out pretty easily. Question really is, can VP at least manage to take a couple weapons out of the hands of Liquid?
Classic A execute going to be coming in stairs and jungle so far, leaving CT open, interestingly, hoping to maybe get a few fights for that AWP to capitalize on, but no one heavily peeking. They know that they're, for the most part, up against a weak buy. They've got Naf spotting information. Nice flash comes in for him. Only able to get one, though. Now these CT players have got a strike. This is where, in theory, the AWP comes out on top. Oh, running out of ammo. Twist gets taken down. It's all on to Snatchy. He has managed to find one, but 3 more to find with no armor. His position going to be known. No bomb. Might just be worth him running off and trying to save this AWP, but tries to go for it. Misses the shot. And Elige will take him down. A 3rd round for Liquid relatively easily there.
You're going to have to be another eco, maybe. You can see it's, well, only Pasha, I suppose, is a little bit low, so the rest of them can buy in. Pasha even able to get an AK, it's just without the helmet, so it's a little bit of a limited buy here coming in. Going to be not a lot of utility as well available. They have 4 smokes, 5 flashes rather. Meaning, of course, if they are going to go for that mid control, that would use up pretty much all of their utility in doing so. So it'll be interesting to see what approach they have in this round. It looks like they are actually going to go for it. Elige this time around goes for a little bit of a spam. The smoke not leaving a gap. He decides it's best to fall back off. And it's Naf on the AWP, the secondary, when he comes in and just gets the wall bang on towards Mihu. Pretty quickly being, or rather, pretty quickly bringing this round in favor of Liquid. Although VP do still have this mid control. What will they look to try and actually do off the back of it is the main question.
Difficult to fight your way back into the game when, or the round rather, when you've had such a weak start, hardly any utility to work with. Neo does find Nitro, but there's still this difficult crossfire to break apart. Twist, of course, remaining alive, moves in towards Palace. Makes things pretty awkward for the T side. It's pretty much the Neo show at this point, but they're so very split on the T side, trying to gain control in at middle, but they really need to, you know, make sure that no one catches one of those isolated players off guard, and there it is. The flash comes in. Neo is able to back away, but Twist just spins around, takes down Pasha without the head armor, makes it easy for him, and Naf in with the AWP to find another. Twist is left on 1 HP, but it's Neo who needs the ace to clutch this round out for VP. Looks like Liquid is set to get another, and that's, you know, where you might think buying it, it's only a small thing, but Pasha without the head armor, Twist is able to spin around and only needs to connect that one bullet, and he does it so cleanly, it allows him to stay alive and arguably helps Liquid win the round. Well, maybe. 10 seconds remaining, it's still time.
Yeah, there's actually a chance here. I think he should at least be able to find the bomb plant. You can see the closest player being up in the apartment, so as long as he sticks it, it is going to come in. An extra $800 per player to be found. A chance for him to try and actually pull off the kill, but going to back off in towards kitchen now. Naf, as he comes in for the peak, is just going to go ahead and shut it down with the up. So it is Liquid to go ahead and finish off that round eventually. They're going to get themselves into the lead. But as we said, with the bomb plant at least being put into place for VP, it gives them that little bit of extra money to work with. But I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get the buy. I don't believe so off the back of it. I think they will still be struggling just a little bit, not having the full loss bonus built up quite yet.
I think you're right. They could, but it's a question of maybe this is what they're talking about right now in this tactical pause. It's a question of utility once again. And you could kind of argue in the previous round they sort of came close. Utility could have been the difference maker there. A smoke in towards CT, a Molotov in it towards Palace or the Shadow area. It is those little differences, obviously. The utility so important. And again, that's something that maybe a team like where VP are at the moment, a little bit bare bones with the strategy, with the DP utility usage. So it could be important for them to get it out. Naf actually popping off on that AWP, you know.
Yeah, that was a magnificent shot.
I think he got another in this round as well, yeah, he did. So, well, he got 3, in fact. There you go, mate. So, majority of the kills. And generally, again, something that we kind of, the analyst desk, and we've touched on, it's not a solid AWPer for Liquid, so it allows them a little bit of a dynamic kind of play style. Maybe Mirage Naf is the AWPer, you know, similar to Mouse Sports, where they swap about with Chris J and Oscar.
Yeah, well, they did have Nitro on it, I believe, initially, but when they had the double up setup at least, but now he's happy enough, I guess, to just stick onto that AUG. Still gives you the long-range capability, and I guess with Nitro being the IGL as well, it allows for him to focus a little bit more, not having the op in his hands. But there we go. Elige, although he did find the opening kill, we see a pretty quick trade coming in by Morels. They've been able to push out onto that B-bomb site, and actually Liquid, just pretty much given up that site, have gone ahead and given a bit of a chance here to VP. Twist's going to be able to recover 1 kill on towards Mihu at least, but a lot of damage has been done. And up against this these pistols, rather, that can still be really dangerous. A 3-on-2 now, though. Morels with the AK. Snatchy, he's going to be the one that has to get really the majority of the work done, even though he only has the Deeg. Of course, with his teammate just being so low on health.
Talking of low HPs, though, the Deagle is perhaps the perfect weapon for him to have here. The only issue is, obviously, if he misses a shot, no armor is a relatively easy pickup.
Approaching through short is interesting.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. They're kind of leaving some sight lines open. Maybe they're confident enough in their retake because of the weaponry, but still, you don't want to give them as much opportunity as this. I think they're aware of the fact that a flank is eventually going to come in. And again, Twist on low HP should be an easy pickup in theory. Morels with a little bit of an off angle might be difficult to deal with. Here's Nitro making an awful lot of noise, but he's ready for the peak to come in. They've spotted out Snatchy as well. It seems it's all but over, but perhaps a miracle play to come through. The Molotov going to push him out of position, and Nitro to take him down on that AUG, of course, the aim punch. Too difficult to deal with. The defuse as they recover the AWP, of course. Liquid with a 5th round. 5 in a row, looking pretty dominant at the moment. You know, winning these rifle rounds relatively decisively and cleanly taking the anti-eco, anti-force buy scenarios as well. So starting to build up a fair amount of cash, and this is again where that mental kind of game comes into it for VP. How strong are they in this new iteration?
It's still early days. On the T side, of course, it's all about just grinding out those rounds. But as you said, it can be a little bit difficult when you're up against a team on the caliber of Liquid. If they get rolling, they can just almost be unstoppable. I guess kind of similar to what we've seen from VP in the old days. Let's see, coming into this one now. It's the op available again for Snatchy. It's still going to be in the hands of Naf over on the CT side. And it looks like he's going to be given some opportunities in towards middle, but a nice flash actually going to force him to fall back off. That means VP should be able to find themselves this control. But that's smoking towards connector. A little bit of room, at least for Naf to try and work with. He peeks out spots that no one has pushed forward as of yet. for now, neither side really looking to try and take these battles too heavily, although the utility has been able to find quite a lot of damage on towards Snatchy and Pasha.
Slightly slowing things down again, though. Mid-control seemingly in the hands of VP, but this is something I think it's kind of similar to Cash. If you give up mid-control, that's fair enough. But if you get it taken off of you, I think it makes things difficult. But if you know that they could quite possibly be there, maybe you're even baiting them into going towards middle, it can definitely work out for you. Falling off the boost might just have worked out for Snatchy there, you know. Elige going to go down, leaving Taco all on his lonesome. He can't get anything done as Mihu takes him down. 5 on 3 and an immediate call to save from Liquid. Certainly the respect coming through. They want to keep that AWP into the next round, as it will be finally Virtus.pro putting a stop to Liquid's tear of rounds here. Again, it now comes down to the question of doing it consistently. Pasha, fair enough, you know, caught with his knife out. Why not? Does what he wants and gets punished for it, but still, they'll be able to possibly drop him something across. But yeah, the main thing here, obviously, for VP is keeping this up consistently. They could quite easily get reset. That allows Liquid to extend their lead. So can they keep it together going into these next few rounds?
Yeah, and if they can survive with these 4 players now as well, that'd be a good chance they'd build up a little bit of money off the back of it. On the other hand, though, Liquid, they've built up a pretty solid economy of their own. At least on the some of the players, you can see Naf, of course, had 7,000 before the round even ended. Now sitting at 8.5. He's not going to be struggling anytime soon. He's able to save the op over. I'd imagine he's probably going to drop an M4 over to maybe Taco, who was a little bit low on money, I believe. But yeah, as you said, VP finally pulling out another round onto the board, able to bring it up to 4. But is that something that they can manage to actually replicate now? Can they manage to string a couple of rounds together and start getting some momentum and confidence actually rolling in their own favor? Or are they just going to be looking down the barrel of Team Liquid again, who so far have looked pretty decent, I suppose, on the CT side? Not maybe as strong as I was expecting coming into it, but we can see that they definitely are warming up. Twist towards the top of the scoreboard, and actually Nitro into this round now going to be getting aggressive on short. Finds the opening kill on Mihu and instantly flicks over to take down Morels. With that now a 5 on 3, and this time around VP, they've been going for this mid-control pretty much every time, and Liquid, of course, they were aware of that. They counteracted it with the aggression.
Oh, Pasha is not aware of Elige, but actually manages to land the reaction shot. Gets a good amount of connected control. Neo to find Naf as well. So it's brought back into a 3 on 3. Twist is in an advanced position, waiting for someone to peek into him, but Snatchy seems savvy to the fact, going to go for this contact AWP play as they both move into each other in the wrong angle at the wrong time. Twist going to get taken down. 3 on 2. As the Molotov does push Neo out of position. Low HPs for these final 2 players. Definitely doable, but they have control of B, and I think Pasha has figured this one out. He's going to move over, try and get the bomb plant at the very least, and maybe even take the round. Splitting the CT defense as well. Should be able to isolate these 1 versus 1 successfully. But it's those low HPs for VP that's really going to play on their mind and possibly be a detrimental factor.
Yeah, you can see Nitro actually did hear the footsteps there. Being magical and reading his lips, he called B apartments, so he did actually hear that the bomb was making its way in that direction, and he is a pretty decent chancer on the flank. The problem is Snatchy seems to be at least cautious of it. He put that Molotov in to try and delay any flanks that may be in place, and it is going to be a little bit difficult here, but actually both players are going to be sticking together. I like this. They can look to try and just trade with the HP advantage as well. But although we do see Snatchy on the op, posted up on the window. That was a shot he really needed to connect. Now they can close in the distance. And Snatchy on the op up close, that's when he's really going to begin to struggle with that low HP. And as you can see, just instantly being dropped by Nitro. Taco just sticking on towards the bomb. And I think even if that kill did come in there, it wouldn't really have been enough for Pasha because the defuse was just so close to being finished already. So it is Liquid who just instantly come in with the reset. The economy of VP now likely to be in a pretty poor place. They may just about be able to scrape out a buy. We'll probably find that out in a couple of moments, but I'd imagine probably they will just have to take that eco.
I don't know, I think I see an AK.
Looking there to try and see the screens.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait a moment.
They've got them like angled a little bit, and obviously we've seen kind of the vetoes a little bit early today as well. Might be worth mentioning to the players to just kind of sit closer. Nah, of course, they need to be comfortable. It'd be more of an issue of moving the camera, I suppose. But it's not the end of the world.
They actually have a very solid buy. It's a better buy than what we see overall for Liquid in terms of at least having that extra utility.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's certainly interesting. Whether it's going to help them out remains to be seen. think it's because when they won their round, they actually won it, you know, quite decisively. Only lost like one player, I think. So it's like they had a lot of money spare type thing. But either way, still been difficult for them so far. Double up setup and an AUG. A lot of long-range sight lines that Liquid are looking to take in this particular round.
Yeah, and VP just so far seem to be just kind of continuing on with this standard strat. Taking that mid control on Mirage, it's pretty much the normal play for every team. You can get that mid control. It gives you lots of options about where you can go. You can get connector control, you can get short control. And as you can see, they were looking to try and get that connector control. At least Pasha trying to advance in, ends up actually getting spammed down through the smoke, which does go ahead and put VP on the back foot early on. Although it's not really that early on, because there is only 35 seconds left on the clock now, meaning they are going to have to get a move on towards one of these bomb sites pretty soon. And it could be a little bit difficult for them, because there's a pretty solid defense towards both of them. 2 players on that B bomb site already in position. Nitro still in towards window with that AUG, just continues to find the frags. And at this point, VP, they're just so separated. There's the 2 players trying to push in towards A, but even then, they weren't really in positions to work off of each other to find those trades.
That's pretty unfortunate for Snatchy. The only one remaining, and I think he's pretty much given himself up.
Yeah, I was about to
needs
say.
die, yeah.
I was about to say he had to, because if he just waited in that corner, he was 100% going to die after time.
So kind of smart from him, I suppose, to go for that. But ultimately, he shouldn't be having to go for that. That's kind of the issue here. Liquid continuing to dominate. It does certainly look close, but that's only because, you know, the pistol still, even though there's not as much weight perhaps to them as there used to be, there's still a fairly random element in places. Not a lot of deeper pistol strats these days. It tends to be falling flat to rushes kind of thing, especially on the CT side of things. But ultimately, once the guns have come out, once the money has been flowing for both of these teams, it is Liquid that are looking so strong. And when they win their rounds, they do so very, very dominantly indeed. That is so nasty. It's just like, you hate to be on the other side of that, right?
He doesn't even need the scope.
I suppose.
It's just there for the sake of it.
I think that's kind of the thing. It's the, again, the dynamic option of the AUG is just so useful for so many players. If you know what you're doing with it, you learn the spray pattern. It's relatively simple. But it's kind of similar to the fact, like, we don't see the SG so much. I think it's very similar to the fact the way that the auto sniper works. Like, you don't see the auto sniper very much on the T side just because it's a little bit harder to take those peaks with the weapon that kind of works the way the auto sniper or the SG does, whereas on the CT side of things, they're kind of walking into your crosshair, as it were.
Yeah, but right now, this is actually a round that's going pretty well for VP. They, I was going to say, had it into an equal position, but with Mihu being able to find that kill, suddenly they actually have a man advantage. Mihu goes ahead and finds another as he shuts down a Liege towards the stairs, and suddenly Naf is left all alone. He's pinned in towards the CT spawn. I was going to say his position wasn't known, but as he throws down the smoke, it may be, but never mind. Mihu, not realizing where that actually came from, ends up exposing his side and gets taken down. It is at least ensuring that Naf should be able to save this up, although it seems like Snatchy wants to try and hunt this 7 health for himself. I don't think that's worthwhile. I was just about to say he's going to die to the bomb. And yeah, ends up going down to it. It means only Neo survives. There's going to have to be some heavy reinvestment in this next round for VP, and they could be once again facing a reset if they aren't able to chain those rounds together.
Very difficult for VP at this point in time. You know, again, this is not a great way to play CS. If they do end up getting reset here, it's pretty dangerous kind of territory. But still keeping it competitive. You know, it could have been a hell of a lot worse than this. Early 1-for-1 trade. Going to work out in favor of that T-side to gain so much control, especially because Elise is trapped in here. He needs his teammates to react quickly. They do so with a fair amount of flashes and things like that. A lot of Molotovs to go in. Nitro with the double spray down, of course, on that AUG, been doing absolute work, and Naf catches Morels in midair. A few trades here and there, but the fast reaction, rotating play from Liquid is so effective. And just those, you know, Elysia's like, I'm in trouble, need some flashes, and a number of them come through. And it just buys them a bit of time to reposition and get comfortable and be a thorn in the side of VP, who are trying to clear out angles as well as dealing with Elysia. Just a bit of an awkward one for them to deal with, but really well reacted by Liquid ultimately.
Yeah, VP need a bomb plant in this round, otherwise they're buying the next round. They'll get the AKs no matter what, but they won't really have utility unless they're willing to sacrifice down. So they are pretty much going to need this bomb plant to come in, and it seems like they are going to mostly favor over towards B. For now, the actual bomb in the hands of Snatchy still back in towards the spawn, but actually I believe now going to be approaching through underpass. But look at Nitro, he's in a decent position, although that smoke going down is definitely going to limit him from really being able to find too much. He calls it into a Liege, who positions himself in connector and just shuts down Morels and Pasha instantly. Neo trying to advance onto B. Does have a bit of assistance, but Taco, we know he's solid at actually just anchoring these bomb sites, and he does at least find one and just remains alive for the rotation to come in. Eventually falls, of course, but it is Liquid to go ahead and keep themselves with 4 players alive. It's the final round now of the half, so economy not going to be the biggest of deals as long as they have what they need in this one. That's even more one-sided than the NRG Kingwin game earlier.
It's kind of rough, unfortunately, but as is the nature of it, Taco going to retrieve that M4, of course. Fully equipped CT side. Meanwhile, on the T side of things, Mac-10, Pasha sacrificing the head armor yet again. We know how that went last time. Still workable, though.
Oh, I don't think he was spotted.
Yeah, Pasha's just managed to cross, but Nitro at least is aware of the fact that it could have happened. Twist this time going to be in at Shadow, not a Liege. Neo just managed to drop one, but Twist is so aware of all these players coming in, only able to get one, though. Shooting through the pillar doesn't really work out for him. Nitro, however, finds Morels getting greedy for an AK. Now in a 1-on-3 for Snatchy, manages to find the first. They know where the bomb is, they know where Snatchy is. Still got this AWP in play and a lot of utility to work with. Snatchy is going to need the miracle play. And it's difficult for him. He, unlike his opponents, has hardly anything to work with, apart from the fact that they're split here. I suppose that's the only thing in his favour. Taco, though, creeping up. Oh, gets taken down. Nice dink for dink, but of course that AK always going to come out on top. Naf swaps across to the AK in at middle. I was going to say that AWP not really ideal in this sort of a situation. Snatchy has plenty of time to work with. Slowly moves in towards default to get this plant.
Yeah, been able to find that at least, but the problem is towards default, it's not really the greatest position for him to try and play off of. Sure, he makes his way in towards Palace, but as you can see, Naf still has plenty of utility. Nade going to go in towards the corner, but he does also have a Molotov alongside a smoke and the flash now that he has been able to retrieve. So let's see, Snatchy, can he maybe try and catch him off guard? Looks like he's going to try and maybe peek out now. Naf yet to actually tap the bomb, eventually does so. And Snatchy just peeks out and goes ahead and takes himself the headshot. Confirming another round for VP as they do eventually bring it up to 6. So 6 rounds on the T side of Mirage isn't terrible by any means, but you do have to remember, of course, that it was 4-4 at one point. So VP probably could have found more on that T side, but it is at least still a respectable half.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Naf in that sort of situation, a little bit interesting from him. He checks kind of everywhere apart from Palace, just kind of hoping that there wasn't going to be a peak coming in from there. But nonetheless, kind of a good half from both sides. I think it is going to be difficult, though. Liquid's T sides can be very, very devastating, and we saw in the previous game how Gambit fell apart on the CT side. It could be a similar situation here for Virtus Pro if they're not able to work things out. That is a very slanted keyboard. I don't know if you call that. Is it like 90 degrees?
I think most players play with at least a lot of the older players play with their keyboard slanted. Just
yeah, I mean, I kind of do. I feel like it is a little bit more of a natural position for your wrist to be like slightly off at an angle. But there's a level, you know what I mean? There's a level.
Yeah, I suppose, though. I guess it just really differs from person to person. But coming into this one, a similar approach from Liquid. Just a quick B play going to be coming in. Although VP don't really have anyone on the bomb site itself. So surprisingly going to be playing a B retake. Not something you really see all that commonly. Usually the bigger bomb site, the one that's easier to retake, is the one you'll play the setup for. But they are going to go ahead and actually allow for Liquid to find that bomb planted. A bit of damage coming in already, as well as Pasha is dinked down. And this is just going to be so difficult now for VP to try and move on. Rather, they're going to be putting most of the focus in from short. But as we can see, Liquid just completely focused on it, are actually beginning to drop some numbers.
Such low HP here, though. It's just kind of easy for the Glocks to rip them apart. Twist with the final 2. Easy pickups for him. It did look a little bit dicey there, like you say, but I think Nitro, ultimately, his patience pays off beautifully. Snatchy had just been watching the angle at Market for him to come around the corner at some point. He never did until Snatchy made noise and, you know, kind of has to check that window. It was perfectly timed and perfectly played from Nitro, and ultimately that eliminates one angle of the retake, as it were, and then they just ultimately cannot deal with him in the end.
Yeah, definitely worth noting how strong Nitro has been playing. Currently sitting at 21-7, leading the charge quite convincingly over on that Liquid side. Twists as well has had his rounds where he's been able to step it up. Overall, Liquid, as you would expect, pretty consistent across the board, but Nitro definitely been the standout player so far here in this matchup against VP. But coming into this one, VP not really going to buy much into this. They have a couple of P250s to try and at least get something done. But you would imagine Liquid should be able to find themselves in the 11th round pretty easily. It's one flash as well, so they are just going to be stacking on B, waiting to see maybe if some noise is made that they can try and pounce with that flash. But for now, at least Liquid, just getting that mid control, they'll be able to make the decision about where they want to go off the back of it. And already Neo has been spotted and dropped pretty low on health.
Yeah, he's that player with that flash as well that maybe they were looking to use, although he's kind of isolated on A, so a little bit of an interesting spend on $200, I guess.
Yeah, normally you'd stay with the group.
Yeah,
the flash person
exactly.
as well being perhaps the most important. Something you see a lot of the time, I was going to say, is that they group up on short, maybe connector and throw a flash over, and that could be what they were going for, and it is indeed what they tried to actually attempt later on into the round, but sadly having already lost that control completely, Nitro was in a great position to just actually shut that down.
Just Pasha. Man, machine, and legend, but unfortunately not today. Gets flanked out quite easily by Nitro. They cleared that A site, cleared in towards Market as well. 11-6, Liquid off to a good start on the T side. First rifle round coming in though. VP with a chance to possibly get into the second half, get off to somewhat of a good start on the CT side. It's still a fair way to go. And again, Liquid are very, very difficult to overcome. Nitro firing on all cylinders is certainly something that, again, we've kind of mentioned. Not generally one of the superstars of this Liquid side. Certainly good, certainly consistent, but there are different names that we look to be hitting the 20 frag mark this early in the game. And he has just continued to impress so far, really, really playing well for the squad. And I would imagine still in that, leading voice kind of role.
Yeah, he used to be kind of the biggest player alongside the lead.
Yeah,
but of course
I
with
know.
Twists coming in as alongside Naf and Taco, he's kind of taking a little bit of a step back, taking that leadership role as well. But let's see, VP coming into this first gun round of their CT side, it's a very crucial round for them to pick up. If they can take this, they keep themselves in a competitive position. Without it though, likely we'd see Liquid taking a 13-6 lead and just really begin to run away with this game.
A key round for both sides then. In all fairness, VP out of utility pretty much, no kits available. They're going to need these initial frags, pretty important for them. Morel's holding in connector. Taco creeps under his crosshair though. Beautifully played to take him down. He had no idea. And with 40 seconds remaining, it's going to be difficult to try and answer back for that. They're just going to have to deal with a 5-on-4 retake scenario ultimately. Someone needs to go huge on this B site, and they're all falling. Twist is making quick work of these boys. And I think the remaining two players are just going to go for the save. Liquid up to 12, it would seem. Taco finds Snatchy. The lurk play paying off. Neo, meanwhile, struggling with the movement a slight amount. Does make it across, though. The hard part, I guess. It's the easy part that he kind of messed up. But ultimately, surviving with all the players, Liquid just, once again, kind of what we expected coming onto this T side and a little bit of what we saw on the CT side. Dominating VP here.
Yeah, the T side is really where Liquid can get rolling with that firepower that we know they have across the board on pretty much every single player. And that definitely seems to be the case so far. As you said, it's about to be 12-6, and with the economy of VP being in not a great place, before we actually see the buy coming out, it likely will be 13-6. But let's see. Coming into this next round, at least with the loss bonus now building up for VP, they should be able to at least find some pistols, get some sort of upgrade, maybe some Kevlar to back it up and see if they can at least give themselves some form of a chance into this next round.
Kind of make or break for VP in these next few rounds. Neo on the FAMAS, I suppose, could do something, but I'm not expecting a great deal. Again, it's just a round where you would expect Liquid to cleanly take it, as we've kind of been alluding to.
Ooh, Morel's pushing up through under. I was going to say maybe he could catch someone off guard, but in the end, he's the one that gets surprised. Taken down by Twists. It's a clean-up elsewhere on the map as well, as Snatchy and also Neo are going to be eliminated. And suddenly it's only Mihu who remains. He has the dig. We know that he has amazing accuracy. I believe he's actually one of the pros with the lowest sensitivities, if I recall. Not quite sure what it is, but from what I remember, it's pretty low. But let's see if he can at least take away a couple of guns, make it a little bit more costly. We don't actually see Liquid having we haven't actually seen Liquid really build up too much of an economy rather, so it's still a position where if they had been able to find some kills in this round, maybe they could have kept it low and been in with a chance to try and break the economy after 1 or 2 gun rounds, but sadly not really able to find anything. It's 13-6 now, and VP coming on to a buy again. This is one that they need to make work, otherwise the game will pretty much be over. We'd see Liquid actually reaching map point before the guns came out again.
Last chance saloon, it would seem, for Virtus Pro. They need something, anything at this point. The double up setup might just be it. Of course, Snatchy now that main AWPer. Pasha, known for his AWPing way back when, you know, and was kind of main AWPer for this VP side for quite a while. Neo did it for a bit. But Snatchy's been a little bit more solid. We'll see if Pasha can help him out. However, not been having the best of games, it has to be said. Maybe that AWP will be the switch up that he needs. Nonetheless, though, again, a bit of a broken buy from VP. Limited equipment to work with. They need these initial frags. It is something that they've struggled with so heavily on this CT side, is gaining any kind of an advantage in some of these rounds, and that allows Liquid to just ultimately run away with a lot of the situations just because mathematically they are ahead. Snatchy holding aggressive, misses the shot completely though. The nerves setting in for the relatively young gun, the newer player of course, and again a lot of weight on his shoulders. Mihu, however, has pushed up aggressively in towards middle, finds Naf, and able to drop back. So talking about finding an advantage, VP finally managed to get themselves one.
Yeah, can they actually manage to capitalize off it and turn it into a round win is really the main question. Mihu in a nice position there on short, looking down into underpass, is able to drop a Liege. Nitro though spamming through, does some damage on the Mihu in return. Spots out Morales in the window as well, and he's definitely tagging some of these players down, but the problem is, of course, when you look at the HP for Liquid, all 3 players are just barely hanging on to life currently. I mean, and it is going to be quite difficult for them as they begin to push into a bomb site, and even then they can't really do so. It's just going to have to be the save. You can see there's only 10 seconds remaining. Sure, Twists had the bomb and was fairly close to B, but it's not really like he could do too much on his own. Pushing in, he likely would have been dropped even if he did find 1 kill. So there you have it. VP, they finally picked themselves up a gun round here on the CT side. The double up is still going to be carried over as well. Neo able to retrieve that secondary one. And VP finding themselves a little bit of a lifeline now. But again, we haven't really seen them be too successful in terms of chaining the rounds together, bar those 4 that they found early on.
Again, this is one of those kind of rounds where it's difficult for VP, arguably as much, maybe even more pressure than the previous round, because they have to string this together consistently as well for, you know, the rest of the game in theory. This is an opportunity for Liquid to very easily shut their opponents out of the game. VP, again, seemingly kind of lacking that initiative, playing a very passive setup. Taco actually takes down Neo, who maybe was trying to get a bit aggressive. Yeah, I think on top of default box. Bit of an unorthodox angle, falls down, of course. And again, Liquid get the advantage, and this is where I think they're one of the best teams, certainly in this tournament, but if not the world, where they just convert rounds. You give them a small opening, they will very, very regularly convert the round win.
You could have jinxed it though. We all know the caster's curse is a thing. And just as you said that, of course, there was a quick kill being brought back in on the Nitro.
We've got a Krieg as well, mate.
I love the Krieg. It's actually a really good gun, in my opinion, much better than the AUG.
Yeah, I suppose so. Again, it's just sort of that situational kind of play. I don't think it suits the T side as much. Either way, 4-on-4. Morel's going to get Molotov'd out of position. Twists takes him down. It's such a pesky off angle to deal with. Pasha getting aggressive on the AWP, takes down Twists as he looks to even things up, maybe even get the advantage. Still got these 2 AWPs in play. Snatchy to find another. It's the man advantage for VP. As Liquid looking to move into the site with the bomb out in no man's land. No utility to cover off the angles, and Mihu chooses his moment to strike. Taco does deal with him, but has 2 more to find, and he cannot get it done. As the information comes in, he's on low HP. It's an easy pickup for Pasha. The double up setup paying dividends.
Yeah, again, been able to retain it as well. Only the 2 players surviving, but importantly, it is the ops, so they're able to continue on with those into these next rounds. And VP, they're slowly starting to build their way back into this. There's still a long way to go. There's a massive gap for Liquid, of course, leading with a pretty convincing scoreline, still 5 rounds in the difference. But they are able to get the buyout again. They still have some money left in the reserve, so it means VP likely going to have to find 2 more before they can actually force Liquid down to the eco.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, going to be a bit. It could potentially be a bit of an issue, but into this one, VP looking confident. We've seen over these last few rounds they've been looking to try and get aggressive on mid. It's been working out pretty well for them, and surprisingly, Liquid have kind of just been given that up. They've been more focused towards the bomb sites themselves, I suppose, and it looks like early on into this one, preparing a pretty standard A execute, it seems, or maybe actually trying to play off the contact. Yeah, it looks to be just playing off of the contact instead. Just one flash being thrown in, creeping forward, and maybe putting down those smokes on the fly instead. Seeing if they can find any opening kills and maybe catch a player off guard.
VP, though, going for an aggressive rotation. Maybe that's what Liquid were vying for. Or not.
Ooh.
This is...
Bit of a double fake, maybe.
Yeah, a spooky kind of strat from them. I'm not so sure, though. VP seem to... At the very least, are going to go back into what they had at the start of the round. Though they are rotating a little bit more heavily over towards B. It's some more advanced positions, so they're going to be ahead of these smokes by the looks of things. Morels might just get isolated a little bit, I suppose, but Neo, at the very least, is in a bit of a difficult spot to deal with. Meanwhile, this side flank coming in behind these smokes. Morels does seem a little bit savvy to the fact. Elige, meanwhile, going to find Neo trying to get aggressive in towards Palace, and now Morels is kind of left out, deciding on where to look. Pasha, meanwhile, takes down Taco and the bomb. It's Elige trying to do work, as he will take down Pasha, who'd already taken 2, so it's a 3-on-2 for VP. Bomb once again in no man's land, hardly any time. Snatchy gets a little bit crazy aggressive, however, that's going to allow the bomb to go down. And now it's into a fully fledged retake, no utility to deal with. Mihu does find Elige, it's onto Naf in a 1-on-2. Playing around the smoke, goes up high on the firebox, as he will spot out Mihu. Goes for the wide peak to take him down. Morels on half HP could be an easy pickup as well. No kit available, no utility. Hoping that the positional advantage will allow him the chance, and he jumps up, perfectly played on the firebox, following in the footsteps of Naf. Will manage to find yet another round, but that is fairly costly for the CTs.
I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't Elige who just dropped down to pick up that bomb immediately, instead leaving it onto Naf to try and actually fall back, even though he had been able to actually push quite far forward, was up near the bench, I believe, at that point. So maybe that would have been a better approach. They perhaps even could have tried to push in towards CT spawn if Naf had continued with that, and Elige just had went for the bomb. But yeah, it doesn't work out in the end. Sadly, not able to pull off that 2v1 there for Naf. And VP now on 9 rounds, 4 in the difference, but it should be another buy for Liquid quite easily. You can see they have plenty of money to purchase into this one. They'll get everything they want. But slowly but surely, VP are beginning to work their way back into this game, and I think Liquid do realize that, of course, as they are going to call in that tactical pause and try and talk over things now, see what they need to do differently here on the T side. And I think the mid control is definitely something that they could be using a lot more.
It is possibly that argument again of the overconfidence. Not necessarily disrespectful, but more in a sense, you know, just not quite knowing what their teammates are actually going to pull out. And as the game has gone on, Liquid have gotten a bit of a better feel. Again, these CT sides for the Polish sides, it would seem, are actually quite strong.
I think they're back in the game.
I believe they are. It does look like they're chatting a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen some running around on the screen as well. Actually taking a little bit of damage. We didn't see it though, so did it really happen?
I mean, yeah. It's like the whole tree make a sound if no one sees it or whatever.
What's it? Schrodinger's cat? I can't pronounce that first word.
Yeah. Schrodinger's, I think.
I don't think that's how it's pronounced either, but we'll just forget about it. But yeah, coming into this one now, VP, they're beginning to build up some confidence from themselves, some momentum rolling in their favor. Can they continue on with that is the question, as it looks like Liquid do have a bit of a set plan. They're going to be looking to try and just execute on towards this B bomb site, and it is going to be Snatchy and Mihu to try and hold it down.
The first kill coming in for Pasha. It's kind of on the rotation. Snatchy's still here, up close and personal. Mihu as well at bench. Very difficult to deal with. Liquid getting firmly locked out of this B site as well, trying to bait the shot in. Nitro actually gets the tag. Snatchy still alive, will get dealt with by Taco eventually. It's a 3-on-2. They've got some pretty advanced positions, but it's all on to Taco. He's got to find all 5. They're not going to be too aware of him. He will take down both Pasha and Morals, bringing it into the 1 versus 1 against Neo. Low HP here for Taco, but definitely doable. He swaps across to the AWP as well, recognizes the fact 20 seconds remaining. Needs to move across and find the bomb, get the plant in. I think Neo is certainly nervous coming into this one, not afraid to allow him to get the bomb plant, but the running UMP will find him. As Taco, unfortunately, kind of his knees, I think, showing a little bit earlier than the rifle scope will allow him to see, and it will be recovered back. But again, so very costly. That was pretty damn dangerous for VP to allow it to get that close.
Yeah, that was almost a sick ace clutch from Taco. If he had have actually went for that peek a little bit earlier on short and held it down, he likely would have been able to find it, but the problem was he wasn't sure of where Neo was. He thought he may have already been pushed out onto short.
Yeah.
He was incorrect, but by the time he actually did reach short or managed to actually peek out, of course, Neo had already begun to push up. And with that, it is 10 rounds now on the board for VP, and doesn't look like they're going to really shy away from this aggression anytime soon. Elige, I believe he was gunning to try and actually take down Mihu right there, but it ends up being Neo on the receiving end of that bullet. Either way, though, I think Elige will be pretty happy with being able to bring it back into the 4v4. But Morale's up close on the MP9. Somehow able to actually spy out Elige in that smoke. Gets himself 1 quick kill, and it's just continuous trades at this point when Naf been able to find that aggression towards the B apartments. And it looks like he's just going to try and actually commit into B off the back of this. If Pasha can just find this kill, that pretty much puts a shut to this because, of course, the bomb is nowhere near quite yet. But it's not going to happen.
3 on 2 now. Oh, Twist holding in at middle as well. Believing in his teammates to be able to gain control of B, all onto Mihu. And Twist is even taking the safe route towards B so that no opportunity at a trade can come in. Liquid seemingly going to be getting a 14th as Mihu is still waiting for Twist to show his hand, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. I think he's just going to have to save. So things not looking too great for the Polish side. Again, it is kind of a question of perhaps too little too late on this revitalization. Liquid just needed the 1 or 2 good rounds in order to secure match point, the game perhaps. VP not going to have the best of buys in the next round either, so it's really not looking too good for them, and Mihu might actually end up going down here. Does pick up Twist at the very least, but now he's getting a little bit greedy for this AK, so does need to be careful. But yeah, I don't know, VP's CT side, it's looked good, but I think it's just the fact that overall they're a little bit too weak to face off against Liquid, and not ever, it seems, being able to stabilize that economy. As soon as Liquid win 1 back, VP are immediately into a difficult economic, financial decision, so to speak.
I do have to admit, though, that VP are definitely not looking terrible. We are seeing some kind of some hope from them.
Yeah.
And maybe they weren't lying when they said they needed a little bit more time to actually gel the roster together.
Yeah, and I mean, Liquid is like not the best team you want to be facing off against. I think obviously the draw may be a little bit difficult for them. There are some other teams in the group or at the tournament that they could have faced off against. They could definitely have given a really good run for their money. But Liquid are, especially in a best of 1 situation, one of the best teams here. So
But yeah, Liquid finally getting themselves that 14th round, but I believe there is more than enough money for VP to be able to actually... No, never mind, there's actually not. Even after winning themselves, I believe it was around 3 or 4 rounds in a row, they instantly, after losing 1 round, they're going to be put down onto a very weak buy. The only reason that they actually have a rifle is because Mihu was able to save that one. So yeah, a little bit more limited, 2 5.7s, a UMP and a Scout. And if VP don't manage to pull this force buy off, then they'll be facing map point. They'll be on the brink of defeat and likely would have an even worse buy into the following round. So let's see if they can make it work here and now, because Liquid going to be having a pretty quick approach towards this B bomb site. Mihu to find the opening kill at least, and the 5-7 up close, seeing what work it can get done. Sadly, the answer was pretty much none.
a little bit chaotic on this B site so far. 3 versus 3, but Taco, Twist locking it down as they have been for pretty much the entire round. All onto Neo to essentially keep his team in it. Cannot get it done. Twist in with a 3K. Like I say, it was a little bit all over the place. Arguably a bit of a stack from VP or a fast rotation from them. And that therefore allows them to very, very quickly get into the site. Just the fact that it's kind of like, you know, the Ts are all going to be there, whereas the CTs have to rotate around like that. Liquid are just able to trade and in theory, but they didn't need to because Twist and Taco just took control completely. 15-10 then. This is certainly a last chance saloon for the Polish side. A very, very weak buy indeed. Mihu, with the best weapon being an MP9, he does have a kit as well, but ultimately it's going to need a bit of a hero plate.
Ooh, Taco on the op. An interesting choice, not the player that normally picks it up, but he was able to go ahead and use it efficiently early on by dropping Snatchy. Needs to be cautious, of course. There is another player up close, but it's the players that are further away that he's going to go ahead and actually take down. Neo trying to swing in, ends up getting completely shut down as well. And Pasha could potentially be his next victim, as Taco this time around gunning to try and actually find the ace. Will he be able to do so is the question. Pasha underneath Palace could definitely be the one to try and put a stop to him, but it's just going to be so difficult for him to try and recover this round now, and it's just not going to happen. Taco comes in and closes it out by taking himself the quad kill. And it is a 16-10 victory in the end for Liquid. Maybe not as convincing as we would have thought, but in the end they get themselves the victory. That's all that matters, and
yeah,
they'll be happy with that, of course, going on into the winners matchup now, where I believe they will be taking on NRG in a best of 3. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is like a little bit difficult to say. VP again, how prepared can you be for a team like that? I think what they had to do, a lot of the mind games, a lot of the reads had to be on the fly. And when things start to look a little bit difficult for them, you know, VP stringing some rounds together, relatively close rounds in all fairness, but nonetheless, you know, looking relatively good. It's kind of like taking a pause, they figure it out, and then they get back into the swing of things. So it was ultimately pretty clean stuff from Liquid, I feel. A 16-10 is kind of in the realms of not too dominating. You're not playing against a terrible opponent, but at the same time, you are a little bit better. It's not like it's a close game, but there's maybe a few close swing rounds in there that you ended up winning.
Definitely some signs of hope, though, as I said, for VP. I think, as you said specifically, there definitely is other teams here that they could give a run for their money, but I think the main problem is that to get out of their group, they are probably going to have to take down maybe NRG later on. It could potentially be Liquid that they even play again, so it's going to be difficult. They, of course, go down to the lower bracket now, where I think they will play off against Kingwin. But, guys, we do actually have another interview prepared for you guys. We do have Taco on the stage, as always, joined by Drowlin.
Yes, indeed. Liquid do it. They start SuperNova Malta with a victory, and joining me is a man who needs no introduction. Now, Taco, you get the victory, but man, oh man, they put a bit of a fight, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a really great game to play. I love playing difficult games, and VP, of course, 100% put a really good fight against us. They are improving a lot. I hope they can get back on track. They have huge names. They have really good players. So I hope they can make it to the playoffs this tournament.
Great words. Now I want to talk about your team a little bit, because you keep making these great deep runs into tournaments, but you seem to be missing that final step. You know, what do you think you require in order to finally lift that trophy and make it to the first place?
The final step was coming to Malta to win this tournament. We're here, we're going to try our best to win. Maybe it breaks the curse for the last tournament of the year, I mean, to GSL Pro League. I don't know what to say about it. We just kept working, we are doing our best. We are working really hard to get the trophy, and I hope this one is the first one for us.
Now, finally, it looks like you have a lot of fans here. Is there anything that you would like to say to them?
Yeah, I even saw some Brazilians here. It's amazing. Everywhere that I go, we have Brazilians. That's amazing, guys. Keep it up. Thank you. Can't wait to see you guys for the next match as well.
Congratulations once again. And now it's time to check in with our experts to see what they make of this game.
A lot of people in the crowd there looking forward to seeing what the Brazilians and Liquid can do, cheering away. That was nice to see, but either way, good sign from Liquid at least. We get to see Twist playing well again. Kind of everything was as it should be. But VP, they showed signs of, okay, look, we might be able to bring a few rounds back. We might be able to fight back a little bit.
Yeah, that double AWP setup on the CT side was pretty potent. They were finding a bit of impact there. But I think the reason, if you look at this game, that it got so close was because Liquid were in the precipice of breaking the economy for so long. Trying. So they kept trying on the lower buys. Eventually, when they broke through, then at that point it was all over, right? They just closed the doors. Most impressively for me was obviously the early start from Twist. Within the first 5 rounds they actually put on the board, Twist had 1 kill or more. And then there's a bit of overlap here. In 7 rounds in that first half as well, Nitro had 1 kill or more in the rounds that they won as well in the tail 7 rounds. So in the first 5, it was Twist doing a lot of work. In the second phase of that, it was Nitro just absolutely going ham. I think he capped out towards the end, but I think like 25 kills. I think more accumulated later, but he capped out at 25 when they did 13 rounds. So big impact from him on the org, getting it done.
Yeah, he'd been a quick, like him and Elijah have been quick adjustments to using that, more so than many.
Yeah, well, I played a lot with it online in the couple of days that I was home, and I was like, this is great. Like, why would you not be using this if it's only $50 more, right? So
Yeah.
Also, I think God B had I'm not sure if he did this intentionally or whatever, but using the silenced M4 and then having the AUG as the replacement, because obviously more bullets. Yeah.
Okay.
Situational.
Yeah. So those are some options there to have. But yeah, all in all, good signs from Liquid. They wouldn't be too disappointed with how long it took them to close. But yeah, good signs.
Seeing quite a lack of SG 553s as well.
Elijah got it on the second half. Like, I think he had 1 kill with it or something, right? But
That's what I mean.
I think it's going to take time
Yeah.
for these guns to be fully... Like, I looked at some stats in Chicago, and you compared it to the first event that it was actually viable, and, like... Or the event where it wasn't used. Sorry, I think I compared Star Series Season 6 with Elijah, and then I did Chicago. So with the change and how much more he used it, and it was crazy. It made up like the lion's share of his rifle usage. So these guns obviously have merit. I'm not expecting everybody to do it, but I think that it'll be becoming more and more in vogue. Definitely so.
Now this gives you exactly what you wanted, Chad. It gives you Liquid taking on NRG in a best of 3, but the one we've got before that will be Tyloo versus Hellraisers. From what you saw from Liquid there, though, maybe just looking a little bit better, or is it not something you can really read into given that they played against VP?
I guess it's good signs that all individuals seem to be doing what they had to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's probably the biggest takeaway. We didn't expect too many dramas at all, really, did we?
No.
You know, just go through the paces against VP. So more importantly, I guess, look for positive signs for VP that
The younger players stepping it up,
Yeah.
I suppose, is one thing you can look towards. Snatchy had a great series. I think it was Mihu who stepped up as well. But again, it was, you know, the likes of Pasha struggling to really get anything done on a consistent basis and fit into that lineup. And I think that's, again, it comes back to what we said before the game. It is a situation where these guys are kind of falling off a little bit. They're being pushed out of the role somewhat, and we need to see them finding a way to fit into this younger lineup.
It's definitely a big role adjustment, and I think maybe this is like them giving the space to the younger players and them having to be more supportive.
Yeah, of course.
The problem becomes if they start to hemorrhage and they're not really at all assisting, then you have to start asking questions. But I think going up against the top 3 team in the world, it's a pretty decent scoreline, all things considered. We just... I don't know. I don't know what to say because there is such a stark contrast between the 2 units. It's not like I'm sitting here comparing Liquid and Astralis. I'm sitting here and comparing Liquid and embattled VP who are working their way through issues to return to a decent squad.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you can see they just recently dropped out of the top 30, you know, and Kingwin jumping right in there in their place.
That'll be interesting for the lower bracket match tomorrow,
I'm really looking forward to that match. That's one. I think that's one of the main things for a lot of people as well. The storylines there between VP and Kingwin, and indeed just the general, like the players there and the skill level being so close. These are teams that have constantly been up and down through that top 30 ranking. I think Kingwin are kind of consistently climbing up nowadays, but again, you never know, really in that kind of
environment, right?
Yeah, 15 to 30,
weird.
15 to 40. It's kind of hard to really separate these teams by a lot because they're so inconsistent. I mean, just look at Luminosity in the US, you know, NA Pro League, straight out. I think they got 3 wins across the whole season. It's like the inconsistencies are all over the place.
Yeah, and it's a tough game at the moment to stay in your spot, to stay where you are, right? And for VP, they're now on this thing where, okay, look, we've got the pieces we believe we want. Now it's about trying to make it work. And like Snatchy was saying, it was a thing of, okay, we need some more time.
Yeah.
But at least this was looking like, okay, they've got something they can work with. They didn't get blown out, right? We didn't see them get 16-2'd or something crazy.
While we have this graphic on the screen, I wouldn't mind pointing out, so seeing Taco there as the best sniper for...
Don't see that very often.
No, but the reason for this is, I touched on it in the pregame, is that there isn't... Nitro is the primary AWPer for the side of Liquid, but they use it more as a utility. So if, you know, Taco holding that B position feels that he wants the AWP more, he was using it on the T side. I saw him get a kill or 2 with it as well. So when you see that, it's not like, oh, this is weird, they're messing around. No, this is Liquid, and they use the AWP as a utility, not as a star role. They have their rifles to do the work for that.
What do you think of that, though? Because we see
like
some
it.
teams, like, they've gone for that, right, where they go, don't so need a dedicated AWP. Could that be a change that comes in for more teams?
Well,
or?
North was doing that while they had MSL on the
Yeah.
roster, right? They got rid of Mertz, MSL in-game led, and they won a tournament. Then obviously everything changed after that. Now
Yeah.
Cadian's in. He's more of a ride-or-die AWPer doing the in-game leadership role from that position. But I think it's cool to see people approaching Counter-Strike in different ways, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really good to have a nice mixture of teams. I don't want everyone to be a carbon copy of one another.
Yeah.
Obviously, Astralis has the best framework in terms of their approach to the game. I want everybody to copy that. But I think in terms of the way that they are actually in the server and roles and use the players you have, but definitely get that Astralis mindset, definitely get that Astralis preparation, and definitely get that Astralis professionalism.
So we're now getting on to the best of 3 stages, lads. What would you say would be the most, which team would be the most impressive one so far?
Ooh, I think Tyloo, considering the circumstance. I think the fact that they brought Overpass in and they beat Big, it's you know, a decent map for Big, whereas for Tyloo, it's not for them in the same regard. Hellraisers, we didn't expect them to be tested purely because of that stand-in situation, so they actually played to their level. And everyone else is that potentially the best of 1 factor. We have to wait and see. We need more games to really get it. So Tyloo, for me, from the early stages, looking like a hot prospect to maybe, you know, take it to Hellraisers here.
Mitch?
I definitely agree with that. Tyler were really impressive up against Big. It was a map that we weren't too sure how they'd kind of feel on. You knew that if it was the likes of, you know, we saw the recent games, Train and Kashish were not rolling too well for them.
What was that?
Kashish.
Kashish. Is this an Irish one? So we have now
I don't
an
know.
Australian.
It's what I've been
an
going with
Irish
for a while.
version,
Yeah?
and- okay.
Yeah, and then the proper version. You know, it's all open to interpretation. That's what CS
It's just
is.
words. They're just
That's it.
noises.
Yeah,
that
everybody
people-
knows what you mean.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, right?
I love it.
Well, I
it.
hope so. But yeah, I think, look, Tyloo stepped it up. They had a couple of test rounds that really didn't go their way, demotivating ones. That's somebody one that we talked about before, where he went up to A, down to B, up to A. It's that kind of like, it's those moments when you see a player kind of, not to be too harsh, but mess up that kind of clutch situation and be lost for time. He can't get to a bomb site to get the plant, but he doesn't commit to the kill. It's very easy to kind of go, this guy, you know, this guy just threw that round, and it's such a close game. When you lose those rounds, that can cost you the game. But they were able to stay in it. The mental fortitude was there. They came back and they took Big out in 16-14. It was an incredible game, and I'm really looking forward to see what they can do against Hellraisers.
Well, guys, that is us done and dusted for this side of things. Chad, you are off the desk for now, aren't you? You get to go and enjoy some Malta life. You got any plans?
I might go sit by the pool and do invoices.
Very nice.
Not as exciting, but you got to get paid, so that makes sense. And Mitch Julesy staying with us. We bring Maniac on after, but until then, we are going to go to a break. And when you come back, we start the best of 3s, and we do get to see what Tyloo can do against Hellraisers. So don't go anywhere. Stick with us. SuperNova, CSGO, Malta.